I'd been rewiring my brain so consistently with porn that normal human expression of sexuality didn't do it.
Welcome, brothers, to today's episode of the Porn to Purpose podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Matthew Sinkovitz. It's an honor to be here with you today, brothers, and I've got my trusty co-host, partner in crime, Yeadon Smith, here with us today. Yeadon, welcome.
I thought you were going to say I got my sidekick here.
I wasn't going to say that because I feel like that kind of diminishes your position a little bit, you know. So
I appreciate co-host, partner in crime, partner in general. Yeah, Yeadon here as always, behind the camera, in front of the camera, behind the microphone, talking about every guy's favorite topic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The pornography.
Yes, sir. Brothers, thanks for being here with us today. Yeadon, what do we got today, brother?
You know, this week, I was actually, I had a couple ideas, but the one that I landed on, I wanted to talk about something that we may not think about as men. I mean, it kind of rolled around in my head for years, decades even. Like, what are the stakes that I'm playing for in this game?
Yeah.
What are the stakes that my pornography addiction was putting at risk in my life? So for some backstory, if you're a newly listener to the podcast, right? I'm Yeadon. I'm 44. I'll be 45 actually in like 2 weeks. I'll be 45 in 2 weeks. Man. Coming up soon. Been married for 19 years, coming up on 20 years this December. We have 4 children. My wife and I, we have 4 children, 17, 15, 13, and 10. 3 boys and a girl. No, we didn't keep trying until we got a girl. When everybody's like, oh, you finally got your girl. I'm like, well, we were trying for 4 boys, but we can't send her back. So no, we just have 4 kids. They all have bright red hair. I do real estate in addition to coaching men in recovery, run a business, and that's some background on me. And as I was thinking about this today, I was thinking like, before I'd found recovery, and even now that I'm active in my recovery, been in recovery now for 2.5 years with various resets on my tracker along the way on this journey. But what are the stakes in this game? Because they're not small. They're not small. So I'm going to start off with just a list. I was working early this morning, like, you know, what are the stakes in my life? And this is what I came up with. Right? And we're gonna touch on a bunch of stuff in today's conversation, y'all. And stuff that we've talked about on previous episodes. You might hear some themes that happen along the way, but for me, before I found recovery 2.5 years ago, the biggest stakes in my life were my children. Because I got sucked into porn when I was 8, finding a Playboy at my uncle's house, you know, in a box in a closet. And as my family started to grow, you know, 3 boys. I mean, when my son is 4. Didn't really think about it. But as my children start to get older, right? My oldest son was 15 when I got serious about my recovery, when I found the Liberation Boot Camp, started the program, and really found the recovery path. My children were the biggest thing for me. Where when I was growing up, you had to go search. You had to be proactive to find pornography. But today, in 2025, at the time of this recording, everybody with a cell phone is walking around with the entire anthology of pornographic history in their pocket 24/7.
Right.
It's not a matter of, you don't even have to search for it. You can stumble across it accidentally, doing an innocent search for something, and you know, there's a sponsored ad for Pornhub. I mean, I don't know if they have ads or anything. I haven't checked. But right, one of the stakes in my life was my children.
Right.
I knew that this was a huge issue for me in my life, and I was terrified for my 3 boys and my daughter. Porn is not exclusive to men, y'all. More and more women are getting trapped in the consumption of pornography. And I was desperate to figure out how I could safeguard my children, because I knew locking them in a closet until they're 25, that would not work.
Right.
Even though that's really the only tool I had at the time. I was trying to just prolong the discovery of porn to the point where hopefully their brains have developed enough where they just don't get addicted to it like I did.
Right.
So I got 4 children. My wife, just amazing woman. We've been married now 19 years. And for 17 years of my marriage, I was stuck in this trap. And she knows, my whole family. I was just talking with my 15-year-old son. It's like, hey man, I got to go record a podcast in the studio talking about the porno. And he's like, okay, Dad. But the couple of times where I'd gotten caught or gotten found out in my relationship with my wife, y'all, those were crushing conversations. I can still remember the raw, visceral emotions of promising to do better.
Yeah.
With every good intention, but all I had was white-knuckling as a tool. I didn't really understand where my addiction came from. I didn't know why I was using, right? We don't know. It's like, oh man, you finish, you come off of a binge, come off of a using, it's like, oh man, I promised myself I wasn't going to do this anymore.
Yep.
What is wrong with me? What is going on? I don't know why. And I still remember my wife telling me how self-conscious and just this shame and fear that she had around my addiction to pornography. She felt so less than, so not enough, even though it really had nothing to do with her. It was all my own internal issues that I was trying to manage.
Right. So
I had my 4 children on the line. I had my wife, my relationship with this amazing woman on the line. I had my business on the line. Right now, currently I do real estate, but before that, I helped people lose weight, health coaching. And before that, I was in full-time youth ministry. Y'all, if I'd gotten found out for porn use as a youth minister, the door would not slam fast enough on me. I'd have been kicked out, fired, lost my income, lost my ability to pay the bills. I would have been ruined at my job if that had come out. Sexuality was on the line. Y'all, I noticed in my marriage that my physical arousal is like, this is not good, right? Normal sexual activity it stopped becoming enough. Yeah. Because I'd been rewiring my brain so consistently with porn that normal human expression of sexuality didn't do it. Yeah. Didn't do it anymore. My brain was getting rewired. Relationships. Y'all, every single time my wife would get upset or frustrated with something, conversations I'd have with business partners, conversations I'd have with my siblings, my parents, almost every single conversation, there was always this voice in the back of my head warning me, like, hey man, is this the conversation where you get found out? Yep. Is this the conversation where all of these relationships implode and you're exposed as a monster? Right? I had to protect myself from that. So in every relationship that I had with my family, in business, there was always a piece of me that was stuck and not engaged, because part of my brain power, part of my emotional power, part of my energy was just protecting myself. Yeah. I couldn't really fully engage. And my brain, mentioned it with my sexual, I was rewiring my brain with porn consumption, rewiring the neural pathways related to sex and my sex drive. I was screwing myself up internally in my brain. And if you're out there listening and you feel that in your gut, man, stay with us.
Yeah.
Stay with us here for this conversation.
Yep.
The stakes in this game of pornography consumption, I'm not even going to call it addiction, because I know if you're like me, it's like, I'm not addicted. You know, I mean, it's a problem, but I can quit. I'll quit someday. I'll figure this out someday. The problem for me, and this is something I tell people, and that's like, oh, like my boys. Yeah, I'll get to that. It's like, put it on your calendar. If it's not on the calendar, if you don't have a date, it's not real.
Yep.
I remember listening to, what was the book? It was a book we were going through in the Noble Council, where the guy was talking with a therapist was talking with his clients who had a Dopamine Nation. That was the book, Dopamine Nation. He's talking with one of his clients, heavy marijuana user. And he asked her point blank, it's like, do you want to be using marijuana this heavy in 20 years? She's like, no. What about 10? No. 5? No. What about next year? What about 6 months from now? Like, someday, I'm telling you, man, someday is not on the calendar.
Yep.
The only day we have is today.
Yep.
So those were the stakes that I had in my life going on around my compulsive, out of control, sometimes in control consumption of porn.
Yeah.
It was holding me back on every level, because like with my kids, I knew my boys were going to find pornography somehow. Mm-hmm. And I had no tools. I had no perspective on what to tell them other than what was told to me. The guilt, fear, just stay away from it. And I laugh, and you might be laughing too, because we all know that doesn't work.
Right.
Telling somebody that's struggling with compulsive coping mechanisms, telling them just, well, have you tried not?
Right.
Man, that should be on a bumper sticker. Have you tried just not? It's like, yeah, I've tried. What do you think? That's the first thing I tried, bro.
Right.
First thing I tried. I've tried not doing it hundreds of times. It never stuck. It never stuck. I tried resetting my life. I tried getting a grip on myself. Pun not intended. I tried figuring things out, keeping my promises to myself, keeping my promises to my wife, and they all fell short. Yeah. They all fell short. Yep. And the stakes only got higher and higher. I getting more successful in business, having a relationship with my wife year after year after year, coming up on 20 years. My kids are getting older. My son is turning 18 in 2 months. He'll be legally an adult. My daughter is 10. She's going to be a teenager before I know it. And just such fear in my own life for my children, such fear in my relationship with my wife, such fear in conversations I would have in business, because that voice is always in the back of my head saying, hey, man, you are not who you say you are.
Yep.
You got this darkness that if this person knew about, they would never talk to you again. The stakes in this game, gentlemen, are high. We're talking about your life, talking about my life, talking about my children's lives, who I would literally sacrifice my own for. I am sacrificing my own life for them on a daily basis, getting up earlier than I have to because my daughter has to get out of the house early to get to school, staying up later than I want to because it takes an hour to get through bedtime routine. Literally on a daily basis, I'm pouring out my life into these humans so that they can survive and be thriving, functioning, loving, compassionate adults. Yep. So now that we've outlined the stakes of this game, right? Where do we go from here, Matt? Where does somebody go after they realize, oh man, the stakes are higher than I thought.
Yeah, brother. Well, yeah, I appreciate that, man. Like, beautiful, beautiful, powerful motivation and inspiration that led you in your journey, and I believe still fuels you to this day.
100%.
You know, and so I can relate in so many ways, man. You know, for me, I recall a distinct moment in my journey with porn where I kind of played it out. You know, George Collins in the book Breaking the Cycle, he speaks to, he says there's like a chapter at the very end called Tell the Other Men. And he says, what you don't want to do is end up being an 80-year-old man or a 75-year-old man sitting around with your dick in your hand, I think is the language he used, you know? And that was the realization that I had in my journey, you know, in my 30s. I kind of had this moment where I said, man, Matt, where does this play out? How does this play out 20 years from now? You know, like, where does this, you know, you look at the progressive nature of pornography. You look at the progressive nature of addiction. You look at how for all of us, it started with finding a friend's porno mag or videotape somewhere and where it led to, you know, in one's journey. And you say, like, if this plays out another 20 years, where does this go? You know?
Nowhere good.
Exactly. And so talk about the stakes. And for me, some of the big stakes in my life, slightly different because, you know, I'm not yet a father, right? And so I didn't have quite that same element of motivation in my life, but I had the desire for fatherhood and for relationships specifically. And I knew that the way porn shut me down and caused me to withdraw within myself, right? And disconnect. And the shame that it has a tendency to create in my life. I knew it was impacting my ability to create that and to have that. And the other big one, and it really comes down to where the porn to purpose concept was born, was I knew I was called to more. So we talk about the stakes. I knew, like, my calling and my work in this world was significantly at stake, at risk.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, man, I know that I'm called to more, and I know that porn is serving as an anchor in my life. And I've got to shift my relationship with it. You know, and that's where the porn to purpose, you know, concept really came from. So I had, in my own ways, equally strong, you know, motivations or whys in my life, or the sense of purpose, which called me to this work. And it's what led me ultimately to begin doing my work several years ago around this. And it's what led us ultimately, brothers, to create this community, porntopurpose.com, and the Liberation Bootcamp.
Yeah.
So for your invitation there, Yeadon, for those men who are tuning into this conversation, maybe you recognize the stakes are high in your life. Maybe you resonate with what Yeadon shared here today: family, business, you know, sexuality. That was another big one for me. Or maybe your sense of purpose, or maybe it's the dream or potential relationship that you're desiring in your life. We want to invite you to check out what we're doing inside the Liberation Bootcamp in the Porn to Purpose community over at porntopurpose.com, where you can learn more about the Liberation Bootcamp and the work that we've been doing as a community.
And brother, if you're out there listening, man, whether you end up working with us in the Liberation Bootcamp or not, think about the financial cost. And no, I'm not talking about, you know, the $9 a month subscription on OnlyFans, although that is a financial cost. Think about the financial cost if this collapses your life.
Yep.
If your marriage dissolves because of the porn addiction. If your kids get trapped in it, right? Just talking about being married, right? I have no idea what my sister just went through a divorce. It is not cheap. I think about what would happen if I did not do the work on myself to maintain my connection with my wife. If I had not started my recovery journey, honestly, it's like covering my tracks. I have to be perfect in covering my tracks every single time.
Yeah.
All it takes is one mistake for my entire life to blow up. And suddenly I lose my family. Mm-hmm. I have to get an apartment. I'm paying the mortgage on my house and paying rent on an apartment. I have to go through a divorce, divide the asset, however that works. Divide assets, pay an attorney, pay 2 attorneys, go through the emotional pain of that. Brother, take action now. Get the book, Your Brain on Porn. Check us out, porn2purpose.com. Subscribe to other podcasts about porn recovery. Right. Do whatever it takes. Mm-hmm. This is one of those things where you can't half-ass recovery.
Yep.
You're either an active participant writing your own story for recovery, or you're the sidekick. You're the secondary character along for the ride wherever it goes. And I'm telling you, man, it's not going to end well.
Brothers, if you're tuning into this conversation, like the invitation to you beyond checking us out at porn2purpose.com and taking some of the actions Yeadon suggested here today, like dig into your own why. Mm-hmm. You know, you look at the 4-rack formula and some of the resources we have over on the website. One of these is like, get clear on your why. Like, what is it that's at risk? Like, do that inventory for yourself. You know?
Yeah. And honestly, I'll tell you what, Matt, I didn't really even know my why. Mm-hmm. I was just kind of floundering around in the deep water.
Right.
Until I heard you do a talk on how to talk with your kids about porn. I'm like, oh man, I have no idea how to talk to my kids about porn other than just like, hey, one day you might find pictures on the internet or something and
don't do it.
Stay away from it. That's all. Right? I couldn't have that conversation with my kids because I was stuck in it myself.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Tell my 15 years like, hey man, I use porn regularly, but you shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah. If you're a dad, you know how well those conversations go.
Right.
You remember those conversations that your dad had with you were like, hey, don't do that. Like, Dad, you do it all the time.
Right.
What do you mean don't do it? The do as I say, not as I do never works.
Yeah. Yep.
And now I'm in a place where, I mean, honestly, this is a funny story. This is a side note, guys, but on one of my calls in my real estate business, I was talking with a guy and he had done some research on me before the call where we were talking about real estate. He's like, Yeadon, do you also do like porn recovery work? I was like, oh man, you have researched me. Because on my Instagram feed, there's clips from the podcast and everything talking about porn recovery.
Yep.
And I was like, yes, sir, I do. I've been in recovery now for 2.5 years, and I coach men on this recovery journey.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how somebody finding out my deep, dark secret, I think of what we say in the Noble Code, nothing to hide, nothing to prove.
Yeah.
And I was able to have a conversation about recovery. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't have anything to hide anymore. I'm active in my recovery. I'm owning my darkness. Yep. I recognize it. I'm at peace with it. I'm healing it. Mm-hmm. And another thing happened. It's just, sorry guys, these are all just coming to my head as I'm talking. I had another guy, a friend of mine in real estate, reach out to me just this past week asking about homeschooling because I homeschool. He was talking about homeschooling one of his kids, and I called him up to talk about homeschooling. Turns out, talking about they want to homeschool their daughter because of vaping issues that she's gotten stuck into. And suddenly I'm like, oh man, we're not talking about homeschooling. We're talking about recovery and addiction and coping mechanisms. And I'm looking forward to having another conversation with him around it. I've been in recovery myself for porn addiction for 2.5 years. Let me show up for you to support you as a father who is terrified for his children. So men, the recovery journey changed my life. It's changing other men's lives that I'm connected with.
Yeah.
But if we don't realize how high the stakes are, what is at stake, we're going to end up the 80-year-old man, if we make it that far, by ourselves with our phone, as the comedian said, with your dick in your hand.
Yep.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Dig deep, figure out what's at stake for you, and start taking action today.
Yeah.
If you want to talk with either of us privately, get on the website. You can book a call with us privately. You can shoot us a message. If you're watching this on social media, find us on social media. Send us a private direct message.
Yep.
We can start the conversation, see how we can help, see how we can serve.
Yep.
Because the stakes are too high for us to ignore this issue. And having said all that, brother, I love you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, brother.
I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, bring a dark cloud of guilt, fear, and shame. I just want to shine a light on reality. Because I was living in the darkness for decades and never had anybody really sit down with me and say, hey, man, this is what is at stake.
Yep.
You're not a monster. You're not a pervert. You're not broken. You're just trying to manage life's pain, and porn is the pain pill that you found.
Yep.
There are better pain pills out there that don't have any side effects. Matt, always good to chat with you on our podcast talks.
Yes. Yeadon, beautiful, brother. Thanks so much for bringing this topic to the table. Man, thanks for tuning in. I hope it hits home. I know it did for me. It does for me. It continues to do so, So thanks for joining us here today, brothers, wherever you are in the world. We love and appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Peace and power.
Peace, power.
Noble
We're
men.
noble men.
Boom.